Hello, it's Dr. Jenn again, and today we are going to be going over our part two, covering food for the body and soul. And again, I'm with Agent Advantage, and just to go over who we are again and what kind of things do we do at Agent Advantage and how do we do what we do. So Aging Advantage is a non-for-profit organization here in the St. Louis area that provides support for disabled adults and seniors in our community. So we are able to do different educational programs like this through grants and donations. And we're able to really then help educate and teach people a little bit better coping skills and different opportunities that they have to really to be able to combat different like post pandemic situations or even like helping things like housing insecurity, food insecurity, which we're addressing with this presentation again, but isolation issues and just trying to help people to really be able to just take pride in themselves again and have confidence again. That really teaching them, I guess, the skills to, if you will, to be able to just promote self-care better and resilience, etc. more. So, and again, just teaching people also just some of these different tools and resources, but just helping just kind of to create an overall awareness for all of us in the community in regards to, like what we're looking out for, who we are able, to help, how we're able to step in and help one another to continue to build and grow and flourish as a community here again in our St. Louis area. So we are just really excited to be able to continue today with our, our food and body and soul presentation. And today, what we're going to be going over with this second part is just exploring a little bit further about just the harmony of kind of the body and soul. And when we're nourishing the body, how does that kind of help nourish like soul and mind and all the things? And then also, just practical tips for eating well. Like we talked in the last one, some tips about how we can get water going into our schedule and to our regime a little bit better. But from the standpoint of food now, we're going to be looking at, okay, what are some practical tips and tricks and tools, etc., that we can be doing for food. So that will be really fun. And again, if you guys have any ideas or things that have worked really well for you or family members or people in your community, please share that in the comments because I love to hear, new ideas and how you guys are actually been able to successfully implement some of these things in your life. And it's beautiful when we can all share those experiences with one another. But one of the other important things too that we're really going to be talking about in this second part of the presentation as well is community resources for food insecurity. And, as I touched on a little bit in the last presentation, and we'll cover more of this one as well, like our organization at Aging Advantage, what can we do? What access to resources do we have for all of you or people in your communities, and just what are different ways that you can engage with us to be able to help, help support all of you better. So anyway, we'll be touching on a little bit of that. And then also, just looking at just different ways that you can just care for yourself kind of every day and just kind of, again, make some of these things just like implementable habits to where you don't really have to think about them constantly all the time. They just kind of become a part of your routine and what you're doing. So let's get into all of it. And, and as well, if you guys are finding this content helpful, please, please, please definitely, like and comment and share all the things. And Follow us on our Facebook page, and also you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so that you don't miss any future sessions like this. And like I said, share this with somebody that you think might be helpful as well for them, or maybe somebody again that they're caregiving for, etc., that would be able to to benefit from this as well, because that's what it's all about, raising everybody up as a community together. So let's get into this. Okay. So today, where we're going to be starting is the harmony of the body and soul. So now in the past that we kind of talked about nourishing the body, and we talked about, nourishing the soul, we're going to kind of bring those two ideas together. Because they're not actually separate from one another, as we have learned. Harmony means holistic well-being, where the body and soul support and also enhance each other. And I love this phrase, that balance is the essence of true nourishment. I love that. Because on one side, over here, on the left side of the slide of the screen, we have physical nourishment. And really that's like wholesome food, right? What we talked about in the first session. Proper hydration, some gentle exercise, and getting like that adequate rest. And all of those need to work together really to fuel a vibrant, healthy body every single day. However, on the other side, on the right side of your screen there, we will see that we have soul nourishment. And that is really our connection, our mindfulness, joy, and self-compassion that we have, and compassion for others around us. So that looks like nurturing our emotional well-being and just our sense of inner peace. Here's a key insight that I really want you guys to be able to walk away with. These two things aren't completely, just separate, right? And they're not necessarily like competing for your attention, although sometimes it can feel like that, right? Because sometimes we feel like our body drives our emotional or mental state. And sometimes, I feel like it can be the other way around, right? You can have that internal drive that will impact your physical world. And again, sometimes, it can be vice versa. So a lot of times though, just knowing that they're actually, intertwined and interconnected, I think is really important because they're partners. So when your body feels strong and energized, again, it's easier to engage and to pay attention and socially to engage and show up for yourself, but also for the people that you love, and just to be able to find joy and peace in your day. But when also your emotional well-being is cared for, when you feel like connected and also again kind of like that at peace, right? You're more likely to be able to make those physical nourishing choices for your body too. So, like for example of this is, how people talk about stress eating, right? And so when somebody sometimes is stressed and emotionally and mentally not, in the best place, we tend to just kind of grab whatever sometimes or go back to kind of comfort food for people. Sometimes, that can be, usually that's going to be your sweet or your salty. So you're going to want to grab all the sugary stuff. So like your donuts, your candy bars, stuff like that, your sodas, things of those nature, right? Ice cream, etc. Also, though, a lot of people will reach for those like savory comfort foods. So that might be like your fried chicken. Your mashed potatoes with gravy. Again, my Salisbury steak example and from the first video. But you're gonna reach sometimes for things that like we know aren't like necessarily the healthiest thing that we've ever, put in our body and fueled our body with. Um, and again, then that cycle and putting that bad food in can kind of like weigh us down, make us feel less healthy and all the things. And then physically our body kind of gets drained, and then emotionally then it kind of goes downhill as well, and just kind of becomes this like weird precipitating loop that we don't really want to have happen. It just becomes this cycle. And I love that. One of the things that Tony Robbins, kind of inspirational, motivational kind of speaker and coach, trainer guy, talks about a lot of times is that motion. So motion, like your physical body moving, etc., your choices, what you physically surround yourself with. So like motion will create emotion. And I think this is a perfect example of that too. Sometimes like it's not always like fun. It's not always necessarily the easiest thing, again, especially when we're in those stressed out, just reactive, depressed, maybe, etc., places emotionally. It's not always the easiest thing to like grab the broccoli instead of, grabbing a donut, or picking up an apple instead of eating a bag of chips, right? But you find that, again, when you motion, right, creates emotion, when your physical body, when you make those healthier choices, your brain and your soul and your body recognizes that, and it's kind of like, okay, awesome, thank you for showing up for me today, thank you for choosing me today. And I always tell you guys that as well. A lot of times people will do gratitude journaling and like success journaling at the end of their day, right? And it was interesting because one of the journals that I have, a section in there is random acts of kindness for the day, right? And you're supposed to write down 3 random acts of kindness that you did for other people. But this is the perfect opportunity to that, and it reminded me of, I actually took one of those lines and then eventually made two of those lines, um, random acts of kindness for the day where I took care of my body and my soul and my mind, and ways that I was kind to myself, in ways that I chose myself. And sometimes, again, in those moments, especially like the stress eating moments, etc., you got to pause. You're going for the donut, going for the bag of chips, going for the Mountain Dew, and you can be halfway, engaged in picking. You can have the bag in your hand. Um, you can have the soda can in your hand, getting ready to open it, but just telling yourself, okay, just pause, stop. And then the next thought is, what can I choose right now for my body and for my mind to, again, random act of kindness for myself? Like, what is an act of kindness? How can I take care of myself right now better and make a better choice than what I'm doing at this moment? What can I choose healthier? So again, you're freaking out, you want to start stress eating, or something, to that effect. Again, it's literally never too late to stop. Just tell yourself, pause, stop. And then the next thought, what can I choose healthier? How can I take care of my body? How can I take care of my soul right now in this moment? And this ain't it. What can I choose differently instead? What do I have access to that's different than what I'm about to do? And for some people, even sometimes this presentation isn't that. We'll do that this at a different time, but for sometimes that might even be drugs, alcohol, etc., other kind of addiction things, right? But you always have the ability to just stop, just stop, pause, and what can I choose right now in this moment where I'm choosing myself? And in those micro moments every single day, you then get the ability to really start connecting this physical nourishment and soul nourishment together better as partners for having it like whole together function well for your body, and that being the goal. And so, when you're making these nourishing choices for your body too, it will then in a positive way become a cycle. And really, the goal is to make it a positive, cohesive, one wellness journey for yourself. And I would really, again, encourage you to not really separate this whole healthy eating, drinking water, healthy choices from you living well and you choosing yourself, right? They're the same conversation. Although a lot of times, we separate them out as two different things, in which they totally can be. And I get that. But, nourishing yourself fully means really like tending to your plate, what's in front of you in terms of food, right? And also your heart. And again, having that awareness, like what do I need? What do I need? Do I need nutrients right now? Do I need to just hurry up and slam this food down because I'm hungry? And I need fuel, like we talked about, for keeping my body moving for the next task, the next thing I need to be doing. Or do I need connection? Like, am I eating again, maybe because from an emotional standpoint, maybe you need connection and you need to go down to the senior center and and grab lunch down there today so that you don't feel, potentially as isolated. So yeah, I mean, this is just so important. The next thing we're going to be talking about is, I promised you some tips we could start using right away, um, from a practical, like reality standpoint. So let's go through some of these together. So, first and foremost, one thing that I love, love, love to do is to plan meals ahead of time. And this is going to really help you save time and reduce waste. So even just jotting down a few ideas for the week can really take the stress out of mealtime and helping to make sure you're getting a good variety of foods. And so sometimes a fun way to do this is if you see, pictures online, or maybe you know, what maybe you're out and about and you see a meal that somebody has, or even like some like healthy snack stuff. Like the picture here, we have some avocados, and then there are some carrots and some cucumbers, like a little bit of like lentils, it looks like, maybe, and some rice, etc. Maybe like this is like a little salad thing, but there can be healthy snacks and things like that too, that you can, also take into account, because it's also part of your food, right? That you're going to be eating as well. Maybe some breakfast pictures, breakfast ideas, etc. But just take pictures of it, keep it on your phone, and or like take down some notes. Like if you're sitting there and you're thinking like, yeah, actually, some buffalo chicken breast, or maybe like some wings sound really good. Okay. Some chicken wings sound really good. And write that down. But then, like a healthy pivot to that from a meal prepping standpoint is you can make some chicken breasts and still take your buffalo sauce and, dip your chicken breast in the buffalo sauce, but it's going to be healthier now because it's not fried, etc., and all the things. So, different ways that you can pivot. But, if you know ahead of time, okay, yep, like meatloaf kind of sounds good this week. Again, we're going to make some buffalo chicken breast stuff this week. I'm going to put together a fruit tray and like a veggie tray. Like when you're going to, this is fun, like when you're going to, a party, right? And you ask, like, oh, well, what can I bring? And somebody's like, oh, well, can you bring the veggie tray, right? I love, love, love every week just making like a veggie tray, if you will, for at home. And I also make a fruit tray at home. So, I wash up some different kinds of berries or, whatever again I have access to. Maybe I cut up some apples. Maybe I go ahead and I have some oranges. Maybe I just go ahead and peel the oranges and put them in little sections so they're ready to go. But yeah, nice and easy. And then you can just pull those out when you're feeling snacky and you have healthy snacks to grab instead of grabbing again the chips, or the eating more cereal or something like that. But also too, like if you're going to make a salad, then like maybe you say, okay, for meal prepping purposes, like you got a bunch of lettuce that you need to use, and you can just make some kind of generic salads. But then every day, you can, when you're doing your salad, you can grab out your little veggie tray and your fruit tray, and you can say, okay, well, I already got some cucumbers chopped up. So I'm gonna put some cucumbers in here, and I already got some blackberries washed and ready to go. So I'm gonna grab the fruit tray. I'm gonna put some blackberries in here, and I'm gonna, maybe grab some tomatoes and put that in here. And now you got a salad. But tomorrow, you maybe put in some carrots, and you maybe put in some broccoli, and you maybe put in some strawberries or whatever it is. You can totally mix it up and get a lot of different variety that way, from being able to incorporate stuff like that you already have ready to go. But it's such a beautiful, I don't call it lazy easy, but yes, it is, um, thing, again, just to be able to take all of, especially for you guys like that are getting produce boxes or like different like home delivered meal things or different stuff like that, right? Or you're going to the food pantry once a week and you're getting food. But to be able to come home and just take all that food and get it ready all at one time, get everything, the fruits and vegetables and stuff, get everything washed, get it all chopped up, get it, in baggies or, containers, etc., get it put in the fridge and get everything just situated and ready. Go ahead and cook all your, cook the meat ahead of time, get it all seasoned. Maybe you're making a meatloaf that week. Maybe you're making some taco meat that week, or whatever it is that you're doing. Um, but you're making maybe some like shredded chicken fajita stuff or something. But that way, you have all of it ready to go for the week. So you don't have to think about it because sometimes too, like you don't know what your week's going to look like. And especially if you are caregiving for someone else, or you have other people that are caregiving for you, like stuff comes up in people's lives. And so people, can have the best intentions to be able to have you and what you have going on, like if someone's caregiving for you, for example, or vice versa, like you can have the best of intentions on Monday for what your schedule is going to look like for that week, but we don't always know how that's really going to go. Your schedule might change, the people who's caring for you, their schedule might change, etc. So this way, at least in food land, right, you can have certainty and you can have stability and you can have consistency. You can know that you have food cooked, prepped, ready to go. And and also like how it says on here too. The cool part is you can cook stuff in batches. And then you can freeze some of this stuff. So you can go ahead and have everything cooked and ready to go. And then you can even freeze it if you have access to a freezer. So that at some point, you can pull it out of the freezer, put it in a pot of, boiling water or whatever that looks like, or however you're going to heat it up, heat it back up, and then you're ready to go, which is beautiful. Same thing, being able to have enough water throughout the day. Again, have your little bottles of water ready to go, or your containers, of water, or your gallon jug of water, fill it up the beginning of the day. And then, at the end of the day, okay, you drank half of it or the whole thing, or, whatever, to know that you actually were able to get all of that in for the day, and I think just having these ideas again, like, right, like jotted down, or again, just make a list in your phone of like, oh, you're out and about, or you drive past Crazy Bowls and Wraps and you're like, oh, yeah, I could make some rice. I could, make some chicken or some brisket or something, and with some steamed veggies, and I could, put some teriyaki sauce on it or whatever. I could make a bowl like that, or put some quinoa, or whatever you have access to. But like, write those ideas down, and it kind of helps you again to just kind of have a variety of food, so that you don't get, stuck in the same rut. Or maybe you can make tuna salad or hard boiled eggs, or, just different things. So the second tip too in this kind of category for you guys too is like shop seasonal produce for like maximum like freshness stuff, and also a lot of savings. So sometimes being able again to go to your farmers markets, they will have days also that are like clearance days, which are great. So you can get access to like big bins of like all kinds of different produce, maybe for like $2. And it's just like huge bushel of stuff, which is cool again, because you get kind of different variety depending on what seasonal fruits and vegetables are are trending at that moment. And a lot of times your seasonal stuff also is going to taste better too and be more affordable. So thirdly, again, you're just kind of going to cook in batches. And again, like we talked about, freeze different portions for the busy days. And and again, this is helpful for people too that are cooking for just maybe one person or two people. And it sometimes can just be a lot of effort to have to get out all the pots and pans and all the things, um, for everyone, that for everyone together as a whole. When you're just trying to cook, for one or two people, you make this like whole big huge mess in the kitchen. Um, and whereas if you just made a big batch of soup or a big casserole or something like that, and then freeze individual portions for later, it's way easier, way less cleanup. You're making a big mess of your kitchen once a week, and then you're cleaning it up once a week, and you're done. So it's a beautiful thing. um Again, if you can also, like we talked about with the fruits and vegetables, you can also do that with like, some nuts, and have them on the counter eye level or in the fridge, so you don't have to, necessarily reach for them or go digging, which is nice. You can also put like a fruit basket, or fruit bowl right on the counter, and put your, your oranges, your apples, your grapefruits, your, whatever right in there, which is kind of nice. And again, one of the things that we need to, like, pro tip, look out for, right, is being able, again, like kind of at this top part of the screen here, let me move myself up here, is again making sure just we're reading the label. So if you're eating things that have a label on them, just making sure, again, we're trying to choose stuff that has lower sodium and lower sugar options, is absolutely key, again, especially as we're trying to manage that blood pressure and potential diabetes issues, etc., as we age. So six, again, making sure we're drinking plenty of water. And, again, just making sure we have that variety of colors on your plate is going to be key, just to make sure we're getting those different nutrients and vitamins and minerals and antioxidants. And again, eighth, we're going to try to enjoy meals with other people, when possible, so that we're not eating at home by ourselves, isolated. And again, it's a really huge thing. The cool thing too with this meal prepping that I love for all of you is, again, like let's say if you're caregiving for someone or someone's caregiving for you can take like half of a day, or maybe you do it on Sundays, maybe you do it on Mondays, whatever day of the week. You have Women Wednesdays, whatever you're doing. Wellness Wednesdays, you do it then. But, just take several hours and then get the food. And then maybe you guys stand there again, socialization, and you cook and chop up and prep all this food for your house and for their house, like all at the same time. And you can do it together. And it can be really fun also if you have other people. Maybe you get other neighbors involved, other family members involved. Um, Maybe you do it on the Sunday. Everybody goes and gets all the food. You bring it back for the week. You all share the recipes that you share grandma's casserole recipe, you share somebody else's fried chicken recipe or whatever you're doing. And one person's in charge of making the salads because they're really great at that. Somebody else can be teaching a younger generation person how to make grandma's special potato salad, whatever. But you can get a whole bunch of people involved and make all this different food, and then everybody can portion it up and take all the food home for the week. And then maybe you do, like I said, a really cool, Sunday family meal after that. So just another just neat way, kind of neat idea of how you guys can, implement some of these things and make it fun. Because that's what it's about at the end of the day. Great. Let's go to the next slide here for you guys. So, community resources for food insecurity. And this one obviously is a biggie. One of the things that I always want to make sure every single one of you knows that is available is all these different options and resources for food. And again, there's no shame whatsoever. You have to put your pride aside, and it is totally okay to say, like, hey, I have a lot of stress over food. I don't know where, my next meal is coming from. And as you see on here, 40 million, that's an M, plus Americans rely on food assistance programs. And 60% of seniors don't know, the resources again that's available to them. So, a lot of older people as they age, right? They start losing muscle mass, they start losing strength, they start losing weight for that matter because they're eating a lot less. But why? Because they don't advocate for themselves. They don't speak up. They don't say, like, hey, I'm only eating one meal a day. And that's what maybe the Meals on Wheels person um, delivers to them, right? At lunch. And then that's the only food that they're actually eating that day. Or maybe they're eating a bunch of junk snack stuff the rest of the day. And they're only really getting one nutrition rich meal a day. And I think that, those numbers just in general is unfortunately like an incredibly common experience, not a rare isolated one whatsoever. And there are several types of resources, available to help. So there are food banks, there's community pantries, which provide groceries and meals at no cost to people. And a lot of them are often right in our own neighborhoods. So Meals on Wheels is also an excellent senior program and can deliver nutritionist meals like right to the door, and is a wonderful option for those people who especially have like mobility issues. Again, senior centers can also provide the the meal programs a lot of times during lunches, which is great. And again, community, you get out and about, you meet some people, and you get to talk to some other people as well and get support and that connection. SNAP benefits can be really helpful, and other government assisted programs that can also really help to stretch somebody who's on a limited budget further when they're at the grocery store and can be highly, highly helpful. And now there's also programs as well and statistics too that I find really important to share as well. So, and again, like the 60% of seniors have food insecurity issues. And again, like it's just such a barrier. and and sometimes I think again it's just a simple lack of awareness. So um it's key. And with this being said too, like some of the churches also have really, really great options. We at Agent Advantage partner with an incredible organization as well here in the St. Louis area called Hosco USA and North Sarah Food Hub, where they can deliver fresh produce boxes, fresh grown produce right here in the St. Louis area to someone. And again, that can be a beautiful thing because again, you get the variety of what's in season for the season. And and so just I think a lot of people feel like it's a barrier, but it doesn't necessarily have to be because again, you need to just ask. And don't hesitate to reach out. Again, you can reach out to us, in the comment section. Somebody will get back to you, or just reach out to us as an organization, and we can try to get you plugged in, and connected with someone. But no one should face really, hunger alone, and that's where all these cool local organizations and faith communities and government programs really try to work together to ensure access to nutritional foods for seniors and families in need. So, I definitely encourage you, if you're watching this and you don't personally need these resources, but you might know someone who does, please share this information with a neighbor or friend or somebody, again, in your community, because it can make like a real difference for someone. And we'll include, links and contact information in the description for the video. So please look for that for that resource, which is key. So, and as we wrap up today, I really want to leave you kind of with this final thought. So, you and only you have the ability, again, like I keep saying this word, to advocate for yourself, right? But you have to be able to advocate for yourself. You have to have the confidence to be able to just say, like, I need help. I need support. This is not, going at all like how I thought it was going to go, for me as I aged potentially. I mentally, I physically, I financially, am not in the place that I thought I was going to be in at this point in my life. And, and I need help. And so it's a compassionate act, again, as we talked about, your random acts of kindness for yourself daily. Food, and again, access to water, not just drinking 14 more Mountain Dews because you have access to soda, or people are throwing Gatorades at you, or really sugary stuff, right? Or a bunch of coffee. Like making sure you have access to clean drinkable water is also key. But you have to be able to just say, like, hey, I need help, because it's a compassionate act. And again, it's not about getting it perfect, not about having rigid rules, per se. It's just really embracing like your own unique journey of wellness. And that looks different for everyone. But again, we can start with one meal, one moment of connection, right? One act of self-kindness at a time, right? You have the bag of chips in your hand and you stopping and saying, pause, stop. What is a different healthy choice I can make to nurture my body and my soul and my mind right now? Oh, there's an apple over there. I can put this bag of chips down, and I'm going to choose to do that. And I'm going to walk over there and I'm going to eat that apple instead. So it's just one decision at a time. That's all you got to do. So here's my invitation to you. Like, begin your journey today, not next week, not when things calm down, because goodness knows, I feel like life just gets busier and busier, especially as you age. There's more sudden health things, there's all kinds of things that pop up, right? So you just got to start and start today. So again, maybe that means just drinking an extra glass of water. Maybe that means also calling a friend and saying, "Hey, do you want to share a meal this week? I'd love to connect with you and see, what you have going on in your life." Maybe it means looking into a local resource to see if you need a little extra support. But whatever that looks like for you, I just challenge you, take that first step and put in the comments for this video what it is that you're going to do. What are you going to do this week to actually get your journey going? What's the one step you're going to do? And so anyways, again, I just want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. And I'm back. Yeah, for hanging out with us today and for spending time with us. And again, going through this because again, food and water and just nutritional wellness, if you want to call it that, is again something that I think so many of us take for granted. But it is also a thing, as we just saw, 40 plus million Americans struggle with this, not in a third world country, here in the United States. And so, as a community and as an organization and being a part of a greater also resources and think tanks and people trying to figure out, how do we solve this problem? How do we continue to support? But then also long term, that's the short term. How do we support short term? But also long term, how do we get and continue to develop, right? And create sustainable systems and models to be able to help, especially, seniors and disabled adults and just families in general and people in general have access to healthy, nutritious food and healthy, nutritious water. Again, just really, again, to fuel the body and your soul and your mind. So anyway, thank you so much again, like I said, for joining us, and definitely like leave in the comments what you guys are going to do. What's that one next step that you can do to get, kind of get your journey improved just a little bit, and what can you do today? So thank you for joining us, and I hope you all have a blessed week, and we will see you next time.